Hey guys, Midgie here and welcome to another episode of my Walking Dead reviews. Today we're talking about how I think The Walking Dead will end. So this is a topic that a lot of people want to talk about, not because they're getting bored in the show, but they're speculating how it could end, because the zombie apocalypse never ends well, and you've fallen in love with the characters in the show, so you obviously don't want them to have a tragic death. So I'm just going to be talking about the possibilities of The Walking Dead end and how it could happen. So most people think there could either be a cure, but obviously there's not going to be a cure because at this point, a lot, and I mean like 90% of the world is probably wiped out. And the people that are alive are probably rebels, military men, or not just civilians rather. Not civilians, but just not regular people. So the chance you'll get an scientist like Jenna staying at the lab, unless it's protected heavily, is very, very slim. So I don't think there'll be a cure to it. I don't think it would end just like that because remember, people die, so there'll obviously be still some zombies unless you obviously build up enough people in like an area, and then there's no zombies. You kill your father, who was, in the zombie apocalypse. As soon as he dies, you shoot him in the head, so you have no contact with zombies, because obviously we know at this point that no, if you're around zombies, you're infected, so there's no chance you can get infected, and therefore when you die, you'll die normally. But I don't think there'll be a cure like that. I think it'll either end on the terrible ending, which is if The Walking Dead somehow, gets bankrupt and runs out of money, and they just need to end it like really quickly. Most people think Rick will come out of a coma, which is reasonable, and some people don't like that idea, and neither do I, but it'd just be like really awkward to see. Imagine Rick coming out of the coma, and Shane's like his best mate. He hasn't screwed Laurie. He goes home, and Laurie's cooking like those pancakes he was on about. They were horrible, but Laurie wanted him and his family to be a pancake on Sunday family. So he sees like Shane walking down to his house with a bag of sugar or something, just as you do. He goes to the shop and sees like Michonne, and Daryl, for example. He sees Glenn driving, just like he sees all the Walking Dead characters doing something in the normal world, and he just like, he imagines, oh my god, that's Glenn and stuff, and it'd just be like, it. I'd like that ending, but I mean, The Walking Dead is about zombies, and then you just come out of a coma. It's just like it ruins the whole point of the show. But I mean, for an ending, it wouldn't be the worst ending in the world. I mean, I still wouldn't like it, but it wouldn't be the worst ending. I could cope with it. But the like ending I'd want most is like an epic final battle where Rick, Carl, and Daryl are the last men standing, and they're like got to a CDC that's just completely overrun. They've got their backs to the wall, and there's just so many walkers they can't cope. They can't cope with. They know they've lost, and they're just fighting to the end. See how much they can kill, and obviously Carl or Daryl die first. Not that they would actually, because Daryl I think would survive the longest out of them. But for the whole point of the show, that Rick is the main character. For example, Carl dies first. He gets bit, and he just falls to the ground, and the zombies close in on Rick and Daryl, and their backs to the wall. They're back to back basically, doing the little 360 and killing everybody with guns, spraying down as much walkers as he can. Then Daryl falls down, and he's there just bloody fighting to the end. Basically, he's getting bit, but he's trying to help Rick out, and then Rick just gets closed on, and he gets bit, and he doesn't fall down, he doesn't give up, he's just shooting all the walkers for as long as he can, until finally he just runs out of energy and dies, and then just the final credits go. That would be an amazing final battle, but I mean, not just like a cheap battle. I mean, use basically, let's say, the whole budget of the first season on the final battle. What about that? Like, make the episode, think about, to put it in perspective for you, have a final battle like that is like 5 times as gruesome as much CG, as much special effects, as much editing, as much badassery as Too Far Gone, with the budget of the whole first season combined, which the whole first season combined, it may not have had a decent budget, but it had an amazing budget. Think of it, how much, the amount of zombies there were. For example, when Rick entered Atlanta, they needed to get Atlanta for that day, right? I think I'm sure they needed to get rent some streets in Atlanta for that day. Rent a tank. He needed the Walker special effects. He had the whole zombification. Is it zombify? He just had so many good effects. And then obviously in the last episode where the CDC blows up, that took so much money to just edit that, because there's so many special effects going into it. So I think that budget times by like 5, and you will have an episode that is 5 times as good as Too Far Gone. And I mean, you could just call it the beginning of the end, the episode, for example. And then if you want to start The Walking Dead 2, you could start it with like Judith. Maybe he lost Judith, and you start it with Judith or something. Or yeah, basically that you could. But I'm saying it would be good if they just ended it there. Carl, Daryl, and Rick, the last man standing, die. So I think that's how it should end, guys. And if you have an idea how you think it should end, comment below. And yeah, so this midget, I'm going to see you guys later. Peace out.